The first time I heard her cry, I thought it was the wind. It was past midnight, the kind of silence that presses against your ears, broken only by distant dogs barking and the occasional hum of a passing car. But then it came again, soft, shaky, like someone trying to swallow their own pain. I stood in my kitchen, frozen, my hand still wrapped around a glass of water. The sound came from next door. From her house. Her name was Aisha. She had moved in about 6 months earlier. Quiet, polite, the kind of person who smiled just enough to be respectful but never enough to invite conversation. She always wore long sleeves, even in the heat, and kept her gaze lowered like she was apologizing for existing. I didn't know much about her. No one really did, but that night, hearing her cry, it felt like something cracked open inside me. I told myself it wasn't my business. I told myself to stay out of it. But I didn't sleep. The next morning, I saw her outside. She was watering a small row of dying plants along the edge of her porch. The sunlight was harsh, exposing everything, her pale face, the faint swelling around her eyes, the way her hands trembled slightly as she held the hose. I hesitated at my gate, watching her. Say something, I told myself. Don't. I stepped out anyway. Hey, I called gently. She looked up quickly, almost startled, like she hadn't expected anyone to notice her existence. Then she forced a small smile. Good morning. Her voice was soft, controlled, too controlled. I walked a little closer, stopping just short of the invisible boundary between our homes. You okay? It was a simple question. Casual, but it landed like a stone. Her smile tightened. Yes, she said quickly. I'm fine. I nodded, but I didn't believe her. Not even a little. We stood there in awkward silence. I could feel her wanting the conversation to end, wanting to retreat back into whatever safe corner she had built for herself. And I almost let her. But something in me refused. I heard something last night, I said quietly. Her hand froze mid-motion. The water kept running, spilling over the pot and onto the ground. She started, then stopped. Her eyes darted away. It was nothing. It didn't sound like nothing. Silence. Heavy. Thick. Uncomfortable. She turned off the hose and set it down carefully, like delaying the moment she'd have to respond. You shouldn't worry about it, she said finally. It's just life. Just life. The way she said it, it broke something in me. Like she had accepted pain as something normal. Something deserved. I took a breath, steadying myself. You don't have to go through whatever it is alone, I said. If you ever need help, or even just someone to talk to. She shook her head quickly. No, thank you, but I'm okay. She wasn't. We both knew it, and that's when it slipped out. I don't think you are, I said gently. And I think you deserve better. The moment the words left my mouth, I regretted them. Not because they weren't true, but because of how deeply they seemed to cut. Her eyes widened, and for a second, I thought she might cry again. But she didn't. She just stared at me. Like I had said something no one had ever told her before. Then, without a word, she turned and went inside. The door closed quietly behind her. And that was that. I didn't see her for the rest of the day. Or the next. Or the next. Her curtains stayed drawn. Her porch empty. The plants began to wilt again. I started to worry I had crossed a line. Maybe I had made things worse. Maybe I had no right to say anything at all. By the 4th day, I convinced myself to let it go. Some people don't want saving, I thought. Some people just want to be left alone. On the 5th morning, there was a knock on my door. It was early, too early for visitors. Still half asleep, I stumbled out of bed and made my way to the entrance, rubbing my eyes. The knock came again, softer this time. I opened the door, and there she was, Aisha, standing on my doorstep, with 2 large bags in her hands. Her hair was messy, her face pale, and her eyes, red and swollen like she hadn't slept at all. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then she said, in a voice that barely held together, "You said I deserve better." I swallowed, caught off guard. Yeah, she nodded slowly. "I didn't believe you," she said. Not at first. She shifted the weight of the bags, her hands trembling. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. Her eyes met mine, and there was something different in them now. Not just pain, but fear, and something else, hope. "So," she continued, her voice cracking, "I left." I blinked. "You left?" She nodded again, tears welling up. I didn't know where else to go. There it was, the unspoken question, the risk she had taken just by standing here. I stepped aside immediately. Come in. She didn't say much at first. She just sat on my couch, holding onto one of the bags like it was the only thing keeping her grounded. I made her tea, though she barely touched it. The silence between us wasn't awkward this time. It was heavy, waiting. Eventually, she spoke. He wasn't always like this, she said quietly. I didn't ask who. I already knew. He used to be kind, caring. He made me feel safe. Her fingers tightened around the fabric of the bag. But then things changed. Slowly. So slowly I didn't even notice at first. Her voice trembled. It started with small things. Criticism. Control. Telling me what to wear, who to talk to, what to think. She laughed softly, but there was no humor in it. I thought it was love. I thought, maybe I was the problem. I felt my chest tighten. No, I said gently. You weren't. She looked at me, like she wanted to believe it, but didn't quite know how. He'd get angry, she continued. Over nothing, over everything, and every time, he'd apologize. Say it wouldn't happen again. Her voice dropped to a whisper. But it always did. I clenched my jaw, trying to keep my emotions in check. No one deserves that, I said. She nodded slowly. I know that now, she said. At least, I'm starting to. She wiped her eyes with the back of her hand. When you said I deserve better, it felt like someone finally saw me. Her words hit harder than I expected. I've felt invisible for so long, she added. Like I didn't matter. You do, I said firmly. You matter a lot. She took a shaky breath. I was scared to leave, she admitted. Terrified. I didn't know if I'd survive on my own. I didn't know where I'd go. Her eyes searched mine, but staying felt worse. I nodded. That's how you know you made the right choice. She let out a long breath, like she had been holding it in for years. I packed what I could this morning, she said. While he was asleep, her voice lowered. I didn't say goodbye. You don't owe him one. She gave a small, sad smile. I guess not. The days that followed weren't easy. Leaving was just the beginning. There were phone calls, missed ones, angry ones, desperate ones. Messages filled with apologies, accusations, promises. She didn't respond, not once, but I could see the toll it took on her. The way she flinched at sudden noises. The way she stared at her phone like it might explode. Healing isn't a straight line. It's messy, slow, painful, but she kept going, one day at a time. I helped her find a small job at a nearby cafe. It wasn't much, but it was a start. The first day she came home from work, she looked exhausted, but there was something new in her expression. Pride. I did it, she said, almost like she couldn't believe it. Herself. You did, I smiled. She laughed softly. I was so nervous. I kept thinking I'd mess everything up. But you didn't. She shook her head. No, I didn't. It was a small victory. But it meant everything. Weeks turned into months. The change in her was gradual, but undeniable. She started smiling more, laughing, even. The first time I heard her laugh, really laugh, it caught me off guard. It was bright, free, nothing like the quiet, restrained version she used to show the world. You're different, I told her one evening. She raised an eyebrow. Good different, very good, she smiled. I feel different, she admitted. Lighter, like I can breathe again. She looked out the window, thoughtful. I still have bad days, she said. Days where I miss the idea of what I thought I had. Days where I wonder if I made the right choice. You did, I said firmly. She nodded. I know, she said. Deep down, I know. One afternoon, she stood at my door again. No bags this time, just her. Confident, steady. I found a place, she said. I blinked. You did, she nodded, a proud smile spreading across her face. It's small, but it's mine. I felt a mix of happiness and something else I couldn't quite name. You're moving out. Yeah, she said softly. It's time. I nodded, even though a part of me didn't want her to go. I'm proud of you, I said. She stepped forward and hugged me. It was unexpected, but warm. Thank you, she whispered. For what? For seeing me, she said. The day she left, the house next door felt empty again. But it wasn't the same kind of emptiness. This time, it felt peaceful. Like something broken had finally been set free. A few weeks later, I got a message from her. Just one line. I'm happy. I stared at those words for a long time. And smiled. Sometimes, we don't realize the power of a single sentence. A few words, spoken at the right moment, can change someone's entire life. I think you deserve better. I had said it without thinking. But for her, it became the beginning of everything. And maybe that's the lesson. You never know who's waiting to be reminded that they matter. That they're worthy. That they deserve more than just surviving. They deserve to live. And sometimes, all it takes is someone brave enough to say it out loud.